Welcome to the Voice of Florida Architecture. I'm your host, Rhonda Hammond, AIA. One of the missions of this podcast was to communicate the value we bring as architects through design of the built environment in our communities. We set about to accomplish this by introducing each of the 13 AIA Florida components. We've invited the leadership of each component for a conversation, and we let them share how they specifically are bringing value to their members and community. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with the leaders of AIA Palm Beach. Please welcome Polly Daltrey, AIA, their president, Alfonso Hernandez, AIA, their president-elect, and their state director, Tyree Boykin, AIA. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
AIA Palm Beach sits on our southeastern coast, serving Palm Beach County. Of the 569 licensed architects in the area, there are currently 301 AIA members. This calculates into a 53% market share. I have to share with you too that this is a 35% increase since 2015. Credit goes to your leadership over the past 3 years. By introducing each component, we highlight the programming, special events, and other benefits they are providing for their members. AIA Palm Beach has much to offer, but before we get into specifics, let's get a little history. Polly, AIA Palm Beach is the second component that has taken advantage of the management services offered by AIA Florida. I get it from a trusted source that was 11 years ago. So tell us a little bit of how the component operates and a little history and makeup of your component.
As architects, we're always super busy, and I'm very thankful that we have the management agreement with AIA Florida. We have Becky and we have Chrissy that help, and I don't think we could do what we do without them. There's a lot of minutes for meetings. There's the financials. All of that takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of focus. And this gives us time to actually do things that members really need, like programs and events, and lets us really focus on that. So, I've served with other organizations, and I think the biggest thing with this organization in particular is that we have that support. And speaking with other components, they're doing everything on their own, which, I give them a lot of credit to, a lot of kudos for that, but it's a lot. It's a lot. Again, I appreciate Chrissy and Becky for everything they do. Chrissy came over a couple years ago, and I'm sure everybody knows her dad. So she's been in the family for her whole entire life, pretty much. So it's been great.
So as president, share what your vision has been for the component and tell us about your year so far.
As president, a lot of it is, just maintaining and keeping things, running smoothly. Again, Becky keeps me in line. Chrissy keeps me in line as well. But a lot of what we've talked about, I've been on the board for many years, and I've learned a lot from this board, from the people who've been on it. With AIA it's been there throughout my career. So AIA has been there when I was a student. I've got scholarships from the Palm Beach Foundation. When I graduated and I was taking tests, they were there. We started a study group with Amy Callisti. She's also on the board with us. Right now, it's led by some others like Laura and Centauri. And then when you're trying to get jobs, you're connected with other architects. Running your own firm, you're connected with people that you can bounce ideas off of and kind of get support that way. All through your career, you have that, and the allied members are part of that. It's been a really good resource. I think that's part of what we're trying to do is in the program show that there's a lot of value. We're trying to bring things that members really want to see is like business oriented events or social events or more active events. That's kind of what I've been pushing for many years is that diversity. But again, it's the value, of the architect.
It sounds like you, like Chrissy, has been a part of the family for a long time.
In college, you don't really realize that you're part of it, and then you kind of get roped back in. I know Denise years ago. Denise is she's on our she's our president for our foundation, and she used to be president of the board. She's on the state women in architecture board as well. She kind of looped me in, and then you start to find out what great people here are, like Tyree and other presidents that have gone through.
AIA Palm Beach has a diverse board of directors. Alfonso, How has the membership benefited from this diversity?
I think diversity is a reflection of our city, is a reflection of our county. You know, we come from different places and we're all here for slightly different reasons, but the AA kind of joins us together to have maybe some common goals. In our case, is to improve our environment. Obviously, it's to produce architecture that's going to benefit, our community. It's going to benefit our clients. And having a diverse background allows us to sometimes reflect on differences that also help create again a beautiful culture. You know, it's not just one perspective. It's sometimes looking at things from different angles, and sometimes you have that because again maybe some of us were perhaps born in different locations and now we are here, and so we bring certain heritages, certain ideas to the table, and that overall benefits design and architecture. So I think diversity is really important. Again, we have a really good group. We have, people from a lot of different places around the world that are here. There's obviously men, women. So it's a really great and healthy combination that we have. And I think that's one of the things that I'm really excited about as we move forward for next year is that we have a great board. And again, with different perspective, different talents. And again, it's very exciting to see what the AIA Palm Beach has to offer.
You're also one of several components that has its own foundation. So Tyree, who's represented AIA Palm Beach for several years at the state level,
Yeah.
and is Palm Beach president in 2019.
Yes.
Can you share with us the purpose of the foundation and the impact it's had?
Yes, and I'd like to just make a comment also that Polly spoke of Denise, and that's Denise Bass, whom most people know. She's very active in the AIA and a very capable leader, and she is our president. I have been on the foundation for several years, and I specifically like the scholarship program that we have. And like Alfonso mentioned, South Florida is a different kind of place, much like Miami. And we have a lot of students who are either first generation Floridians or second generation, but maybe their folks don't even speak English. And it's tough for those guys when they come here from another country just to make a living, much less to put one or two children through college. And so I think everyone on that board has a tender heart when it comes to helping other people get through school and to get them to graduate. So that's the biggest thing for me, but it encompasses much more than that. It's a reach into the community to advocate for architecture and the spirit of architecture. And I think with this last year with Denise in charge, she's making greater efforts to do that part of it and move just beyond being a specific scholarship provider, which I think is a good thing. But it allows us to do a lot of great things, and we all feel great after we give the scholarships. We give a number of scholarships everywhere from 6 to 8 a year, and I think the money comes at the right time. It really makes us feel good. But that's the biggest part of the foundation. I'm just glad to be a part of it. And I think Alfonso's part of it now, and Polly's certainly a part of it now, and I look forward to seeing the great things that are going to happen with it.
Now, I understand that the scholarship was established in 2014, and since that time,
Right.
I think it's $72,000 that has been awarded in your scholarship.
Yes,
That's phenomenal.
It began through the chapter, and then we sort of separated it so it had a better chance to give money passed through directly. And David Chase, one of our members, took it upon himself to begin that process of breaking it off not specifically, but away from the foundation, not to be a separate entity, but to be something that the foundation doesn't have to worry about. It's still a sister entity. And I joined it at that time, and we really focused on these scholarships. And I always tease people. I say we're a little foundation doing big things, and now we're growing, and we're a big foundation, and we're going to be doing bigger things. But I think the advocacy for architecture is probably the strongest suit for that.
How do you raise the funds? Do you have specific events each year, or?
Well, we always take gifts. So if anyone listening to this wants to give to our foundation, you can go to our website, and we'd absolutely love you to death for doing that. But our biggest fundraiser has been our golf tournament. And Jess Sowers, who's AIA, and many know Jess in the association. Jess has been the organizer of the golf tournament every year, and he does an incredible job, even when we were in the middle of COVID and nobody wanted us on their golf courses. And we were all panicked, and he found a course that took us, and we still raised the funds that year. So it's through, it's not just a singular effort, but all the people that kind of helped Jess in that and did the regular stuff to make it happen. It's paid off in spades, and we've been consistent since we begun it.
That's great. So let's talk about your design awards. You host them at the Breakers. What a great setting. Alfonso, tell us about this year's design awards and tell us your secret to the success that you've had in growing your awards.
It really is wonderful to have this event at the Breakers. Sometimes we talked about potentially maybe switching it to other spots, but in reality, the Breakers is really kind of a highlight for us. Not only is it a beautiful historical building, it's just well managed. It's preserved beautifully. So it's a great setting for us. This is our highlight where we get to do our award. So it's kind of our big day. For us, it's a treat. Not only, sometimes obviously when we do get an award, it's very special, but it's also very special in many ways. It's a time in which, as Tyree mentioned, this is where some of the students will get their awards or let's say their checks. And so it becomes a very special night for all of us. It's a special night for myself, cases where, I won it. It's wonderful. It's also great for my clients because then they get to see and participate in this whole process. And at the end, their awards are received. But the awards are also, again, for architects who are participating, who are actively doing the little things. Tyree just mentioned Jeff Showard. So there are other architects that are constantly doing good things in our profession. And that's a great location and a great place to be able to share what they do and to tell them how much we appreciate their efforts. It becomes special to us. We recognize those people who are making a difference in our community. It's also very enjoyable, but also afterwards, we get to chat, we get to be together. And, as architects, we need to have that sense of community. And so that's a great spot for us to do that.
So before we move on, Alfonso, I'd like to congratulate you on the honor award presented by AIA Florida for your Sticks Alley project in West Palm Beach this year.
Appreciate that. This process from start to finish took over 10 years. And it took a long, long time because, it came from a master planning and ideas. But the main thing, what I'm most proud about that award is that what we did at the end. What we're doing at the end is fixing a neighborhood that really needed some TLC. We have now new vendors that came in and now they are taking over these buildings and they're helping to not only repopulate, but also to create this socioeconomic engine that it needed. And so sometimes our projects, even though we like the design, the impact is really great. We're, improving a neighborhood. We are revitalizing it, and we're bringing new businesses to an area that really needed it. And so it takes a long time sometimes to develop these projects, but they're very rewarding. So I'm very grateful to Florida AIA for winning that.
So you just held your strategic planning session, and I understand there are several exciting events on the horizon. Polly, can you share?
This was actually the first time we've actually done a strategic planning session for the programming committee. The programming committee came out of the board. So we had always discussed events at the board level, and it just became a lot. You get down in the weeds, the nitty gritty of an event. The board meeting, would go on way longer if we kept that within the board. So we split off and did a programming committee, and it's been really good. There's been a lot of energy there. This meeting, we had it on Monday. I don't know, there was maybe 8 people. There were a couple on Zoom. It was supposed to be an hour-long meeting. And with me trying to push the meeting along, it got to be 2.5 hours. So it was really hard to stop because everybody has such great ideas. And that's what's really awesome about this board is that, we can bring people in on a committee level and they can try, volunteer for events, try those things out. And then when we see some, awesome, we can also recruit them to other, like the foundation board or the regular board. So, but it's really good energy. And so what we did this time was We had events that we've normally do. Like we've been doing business of architecture events. We've been doing a sketch event. So Tongue is the one who does this sketch event where they go out and they go to a place like they went to the Brick in Boca and they do these sketch events. And that's been received really well. We have other events that are more social. So we had last week, we had a pop stroke event. We had 86 people sign up for it. And this was a mini golf event. That's not really the windmills. It's like you actually have to have some skill to put it in and whatnot. But that drew a lot of people. And so what we did was we kind of split it up. We have educational events. We have outreach events because we did something like a paint your heart out last year where they painted a house, which was great. We have the social events. What we really focused on this year is we have different types of events. So we have signature events, which are our quarterly CEs and our design and honor awards. We have educational events. Like we have an upcoming next March is the Women in Architecture Convention. So that's every other year. It goes back and forth between Miami and Palm Beach. So that's more of educational. We have a business of architecture series. We have an art and architecture. We have different events that are more educational that include the CEUs. And then we have more design oriented. So that's more like firm crawls or the sketch events. And then we have things that are more social, like we had the pop stroke. We've had bowling events in the past. We have a salsa night. Alfonso is behind that, and Chris in our chapter is behind that, and they do a great job. So what we're strategically trying to do is make sure these types of events are throughout the year, and that we do hit on this variety, because we found, whether it's through feedback or we did a survey a couple years ago, that the more we diversify the events, that the more different types of people join us. And I think this is what has helped towards our membership increasing, is that we're providing these different types of things. We also are looking at the statistics that show most of our members are in West Palm, followed by Boca and then Jupiter. So we try to focus on those areas and found out that Boca has a large amount of licensed architects that are not members. So we are strategically looking at having more events in Boca to try to show those members that there is a value in joining. It was an exciting meeting. It's just nice to see that we have such energy and people want to join us and get involved. And our goal is, like, when we have people that are interested, either a sponsor or a member that's interested, we can say, hey, we've got these business of architecture series, and there's going to be 3 next year, and would you like to sponsor them all, or would you like to join us all to volunteer, and kind of bring them in on that. But that does still give us room for other types of events, because we have some people that are like bring great ideas to the table at every meeting. So it was a good meeting. It's just fun to see that, and it's fun to see everybody's feedback.
Well, there's your secret to growing your awards and growing your membership.
Oh, I do want to talk about one more thing. We've also are making sure that we're connecting with other organizations, whether it be the USGBC or other organizations, to help not necessarily partner, but help promote our events. So if we can promote theirs and they can promote ours, that's helpful. But we found community partnerships. We did an event with City Place. City Place it's kind of an urban area, has lots of shops and restaurants. They're big developers in town. So we did an event with them. We want to make sure we continue that. We did an event with the Norton, which was a art type event with multiple speakers throughout the world. That was an actually really great event. We're trying to develop those partnerships. One, because it brings in different types of members that we maybe didn't attract before.
Kyrie, you mentioned advocacy.
Yes.
Share about your advocacy efforts, both at the local level and your participation in our annual Legislative Day event.
That's a great question, because they seem to exist at every level. And that's one of the main reasons for AIA, be it to advocate for architecture or to advocate the AIA to other architects. So in turn, then they can get involved. And I really learned the advocacy thing through being at the state level, which is one of our committees, is the advocacy. And also we have other committees that people can join. They all advocate for architecture, from the communication committee, resiliency committee. All these things have a direct effect on what we do as far as advocacy. We also have the Legislative Day, which is when we go to Tallahassee and we get to meet with the officials of our state, which is really an honor to get to roam the halls and go right in and talk to these folks. And I think an opportunity that we have that other architects that don't belong to the AIA, they aren't even aware of that. And they're not aware of what it takes to keep our license protected and to show what we really mean to the built environment as architects, that not just anyone can say, look, let me contribute. You have to be a specifically educated and trained person to have that honor. And so I really appreciate being a part of that. Since I was a young guy, I wanted to be an AIA member. And then as I became one, I started becoming fearful that all of these other people that weren't even licensed were trying to practice as architects. That was one of the things that really motivated me to get active at the state level, is I wanted to be a part of the advocacy group that protected our license. Now our foundation, I think we advocate, our local foundation, we advocate at a different level. We do that at the local level. Our chapter does it at the local level. And one thing our chapter has really encouraged architects to do is to get on volunteer boards at your local municipality. And I sat on our community appearance board in Boca Raton for a number of years and chaired that board. And it was because Cynthia Sprague, when she was our president, asked me to volunteer for that board. And I did. And John Cronawitter and another architect from the AIA did the same thing. And we were both on that board for a number of years. And when you get to have a say about what happens in your community, then you get to really advocate for architecture, because that board was made up of 4 architects and 3 business people. And business people, they have a different methodology than architects do. Once I started doing that, then I began to go to city meetings and I began to speak during the public forum. Although you all probably know I don't like to speak very much, but I do facetiously. But I think if you're passionate about architecture, you're going to be an advocate for architects. And you're going to be an advocate for architecture. So you should do that. As architects, we should get involved in the city. Even if we don't have a project on slate, we should go there and talk during the public forum. So at those levels, I think the state, the local, and the foundations have the opportunity to make a big dent in what happens in our communities.
Yara Zib, she's on our board. With Legislative Day, she works with FAU on bringing students, and we also have high school students that join us. And I remember a couple of years ago, the first time I went to Legislative Day, all of a sudden there was like 20 students, and I was like, whoa. And it was really good because the representatives there, they really want to hear from the students. And so we were very made sure that they knew these were people in your location that are voting. It gave the students a voice to talk about these topics. At first they were super shy, and then all of a sudden, okay, I have my topic I'm going to talk about. So it's really good to see. I know there's a big effort with her and others on getting students up there.
The Legislative Day attendance has been growing in the last few years, and it's the involvement and the participation and students that have played a part in that. So I think that's great. So AIA Palm Beach has so much to offer. It is such a robust sounding component. Is there anything else you'd like to share about it with our listeners?
With people like Alfonso and Polly getting in the leadership roles, I'm telling you, this is an active, very active component, more so than when I was president. And I think having the youth take these leading roles, these guys have more energy than the law allows, really. And there's always something to do. And it's the complaint I heard when I was first on the board there before I became president is, oh, I come to events and nobody speaks to me. And it has sincerely gotten like a large family. And I can't imagine that anyone would come to one of our functions and not be surrounded by people introducing themselves and becoming their friends. So it's really like a family to all of us. At least it is to me. And it's caused me growth personality wise, and it's strengthened my business, because when you give, you always get back. I can't say enough about getting involved in these things.
I agree as well. And it's interesting that the reason that I kind of got involved was because Polly asked. And at the time, I'm a member of AIA, but not active. And sometimes we just need to be asked, hey, why don't you participate with us? Maybe you can add some value. And just knowing oh, okay, maybe I could do something, then that kind of motivates us to be able to go and participate. So for me, it has been a really good experience. The fact is that I love being around fellow architects. This is a great spot to be. Nothing against anybody else, but architects happen to be my favorite type of people. And that's why it was great, in architectural school, hanging out, doing the things that we enjoy. That's why I like going to the events. That's why I really enjoy, for example, I mentioned the sketching event, happens to be one of my favorite ones because it reminds me of why I got into architecture in the first place. Be able to sit, discuss, look at a beautiful building, scenery, looking at the surroundings, and it's special. And doing that is good, but doing that with other fellow architects is much better. I think it's been a great experience for me so far. I'm glad that we have a good group of folks, as Tyree mentioned, and as Polly as well. And I think everybody has their own interests. And so by being with other architects, we get to grow and we really get to enjoy our profession even better.
One thing, and Tyree, I'm gonna kind of let you know about this. In our brainstorming this week, we've been talking about like a past president's council. One thing we've noticed is that everybody's super energetic and they help at the board level, and then they get to be president and then they just start to disappear. And like we'll see them at events here and there, like especially like the business of architecture events. We get more senior type of architects that show up to those, but we don't see them as often. And there's so much value there of them running firms or just general knowledge. One thing, Tyree, we're going to try to loop you in is maybe we do a quarterly either event or even just a meeting that brings those people back. I've learned a lot by being involved with the AIA and being on this board and going to the events. Ways to kind of bring everybody in is what we're always looking at.
And I will comment also, Rhonda, if it's okay, that I think a lot of people, and probably I as well, when you're new to the association or a local chapter, you think, well, they don't need me on the board, so really I don't know what to do. But we have so many committees at the state level and at the local level. And if you really want to begin your tenure of leadership, get on a committee. No matter how young you are in the profession or how long you've been in the profession, get on a committee and make a difference. And then other opportunities will open up for you. And I think that's the undersold deal, is the at the committee level. And what the younger leadership of our chapter has done is they've cultivated the committees better than before. And from that has come this whole plethora of leaders that are, I mean, we actually have the problem now, and Polly will back me up, when they're talking about whom to put in which position. It's like, well, we've got 3 people that want to be there. In the old days, we had to go find somebody and beg them to be on the board with us. And I think we've overcome that. We've grown because people begin their tenure at the committee level.
On that subject, I think one of the biggest things I hear from people is, oh, I don't have time for it. None of us have time for any of this. But there's a reason we're here, and it's important. And even at a committee level, even if you're there just, making a flyer for an event, or if you can just do this small thing, it could help the people that are putting together events or putting together some ideas. It could help them. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to commit to 5 hours a week. If you want to commit 40, that's fine too. It is challenging since all of us are working full time. It's hard to carve out the time, but even a little bit of time can help make your chapter better.
As you've heard here today, AIA Palm Beach is an active component and is committed to member-focused programming. You can find more information on their website. Thank you, Polly and Alfonso and Tyree, for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. This was fun.
Thank you for listening. In our upcoming episodes, we'll have a conversation with the 2025 Individual Polar Award winner and continue the Architecture News series in collaboration with our foundation. You can find us wherever you stream your podcast. This is Rhonda Hammond, AIA, your host. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Voice of Florida Architecture, a podcast brought to you by AIA Florida.